All right. Welcome, guys. So today's lecture is arrays, right? And arrays are going to be our first collection of values. Um, but to remind ourselves why this is going to be so essential to have, um, I want you to remember Hangman and how annoying it was in Hangman generating a random word, right? So what was our strategy for doing that? Can anyone remember their strategy for generating a random word in Hangman?
Using if else, I think.
Yeah, tons of if else's. And then we just did like const word one equals something and blah, 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 all the way down, right? It was kind of ugly and a lot of code. So the beautiful thing is with arrays, we can do this way nicer. So what we're going to do is not generate a random word, but a random student using an array. And we'll see why it's a big upgrade. So we want to generate a random student. So if I make a new array by using square brackets, that's how we tell JavaScript we want a new array. And I can fill it with whatever values I want. But in this case, these are strings, right? And before we actually get to picking a random one, let's go through the basics of, well, I guess first, how do we access a single item in an array? So I want a console.log uh, Pimpa. How can I access Pimpa from this array? Pimpa?
Um, put the student.
Yeah, we put in the
Uh,
variable students, our array.
I don't know if we need index.
The word index?
No, like the bracket.
Yeah, square brackets.
How? I'm not sure.
Yeah, and then here we need what?
Oh,
Linjay?
length.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry, did you have a guess, Pimpa?
Like dot something dot length.
Okay, we'll talk about dot notation in a sec. No, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Dot notation, I think. Yeah, we'll talk about it tomorrow. So yeah, Linjay, how can we get Pimpa, access Pimpa in the console there?
So it goes in the number order. So I think you put one because mine would be zero and then one.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So we access items by their index, and we always start counting at 0, right? So console.log, we have Pimpa right there. Very nice. So that's accessing items. How do we add a new student? Because I didn't grab all you guys, right? I got lazy and then stopped. But poor Semsi is here and feels left out, right? So how can we add Semsi to students?
Students point append.
Yeah, beautiful. Not append, no. Close. Good
Push.
thinking. Yeah, we're gonna use the method push. And if you guys ever forget, remember, you can press dot and look at all the built-in methods. It should have been called append, right? But for whatever reason, it's called push. And then what can we push in here, Farhan?
So we push the string semc.
Oh, I already have Semsi. My bad. Who don't we have? Ellery. So let's add Ellery. Yeah, so we're going to push the string Ellery. Exactly right. And then to verify that Ellery made it, what can I console.log Ellery?
Console.log students. I just want to remember if we're checking the last item in the array, which is the way we can do it. But I don't think we're there yet. I don't know.
There's actually a little trick we could use. Yeah. Or we could just manually count. Or we could just take a look at students, right? And then we know that you made it.
Oh, yeah.
But let's continue on. Let's assume, let's add you to the spelling. Yeah, let's assume we want to just see your name. How can we access you? We'll practice accessing a bit more. It's going to be very similar to Pimpa on line 18. Yeah.
On line 18. Okay, so you can check the length of it and then index. So you can check the length of. Okay, no.
Yeah, we actually could use length here. So you want me to put. I can put students.length in here. And that's equal to what number?
And then -1?
Yeah, because students.length is 7, but we really want the last item. Oh, wait. Actually, let's see. Yeah, we got it. So, yeah, let's take a look at actually the whole array. So here's the whole array. We have 8 items. So the length will be 8. But here, if I said students index 8, what do you think I'd get, ZO2? This is tricky.
You got 8?
Yeah, if I ask for...
I'm not sure.
Yeah, there is no student at index 8. So it's going to be undefined or an error. I don't remember. Undefined. So we don't want 8, which is the student's length. So that's why we have to subtract 1 to get the last. Yep. So that's more accessing and adding Ellery. But now, very sad. I don't know. Ellery, some reason has to come to the next cohort, so she dropped. How do we remove her? Ellery's shaking her head. It's not going to happen. How do we remove her, right, from our array?
Dot pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can do students dot, and we look for pop, and this will remove the last item for our array. And then if we want to console.log students again, just to verify. Well, here we should actually, so we added Ellery, so we can see that here, and then we removed her. So that's adding, removing, accessing.
Can you add an index into pop to, like, if you wanted to say remove Maureen?
No, pop will
reference?
just do the last item. Okay. Yeah. And this is kind of the fundamental property of arrays that you add to the end and you remove from the end. Last in, first out. What is that called? It's either LIFO or FIFO. I always mix them up. But this is the property of a stack. Like, think of a stack of plates where the first one or on the top is where you also remove. So you're placing a plate and you're also removing it. That's how this stack data structure functions. And an array is a stack. Although we can force it to not be, but it wants to be a stack. I think that's
So the
LIFO, right? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know why I can't keep them
Last
straight.
in, first out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, last
LIFO.
in, first out. So the last plate we put in is the first out, right? Okay.
question.
Yeah.
So does that pop work even if we don't add an array into it? Like if it was the last person original on the list, like Muhammad was on there, and you use pop, does it just automatically remove Muhammad, or is it only removing what we added?
Yeah. So what's your guess? What do you think if I do 3 pops? What will we see as the students? Is your guess?
I would assume it's gonna remove the last 3. So
Yep.
Ellery.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure.
And then what if we keep on going is the real question. What if we try to remove more than we have? I think it'll just be an empty array. I don't think it'll throw an error, but let's see. Yeah, just an empty array. Other questions on accessing, adding, or removing?
Is an empty array, I just want to know the falsy, or is it like a falsy?
No, it's truthy. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Boolean, if we just manually coerce it, we'll get true. Our falsy is really just the empty string, right? And then null.
I have
undefined.
a question.
Sure.
Like, why can't we access array with the index of 8, yet we've already added her to the list?
One more time for me.
Why is it impossible for us to access her using the index of 8, yet we had already added her to the list?
Well, right now we can access 8.
No, initially.
Well, initially, if we try to access 8, right? So our code is synchronous, remember, top to bottom. So it reads this code. It hasn't added this code yet. It hasn't run this code yet. So we're asking for student at index 8, and there is no student at index 8.
Okay.
Yeah, so undefined. Good question. Other questions? Okay, we did accessing, adding, removing. How about replacing? So I spelled Semsi's name wrong, right? And he wants me to spell it right. So how can we correct what's there? Semsi.
You would need to target my name first. So
yes.
Students, and then my index number. Is there? Yeah, I'm thinking we're not going to count manually, right?
Yeah, I don't know how else you would do it.
Okay. Then 4.
Yep.
Equals Semsi.
Yeah, isn't this beautiful? We just directly I don't know. I really like this syntax. Like the same way we access it, if we just use the declaration operator, the normal way we declare things, we can just replace it, which I think is really intuitive. But now to verify, let's see if we got it right? Yeah. So Semsi is correct now, but I guess we should really show it before as well. So incorrect with the spelling error, and then correct.
But the question is, what if we have like a million items? Like,
oh, then we're going to use some array methods to find your name first. Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We can loop through. We don't even need a built-in. Yeah. So that would be a good mock technical kind of interview question. Like, give me the index of a certain value in an array of 100 items.
oh,
So that would.
okay. So
yeah.
So I'm just thinking, I would use a for loop, and then I would go through all of the indexes, and then if one of those indexes is equal to the
Yeah.
name with the typo, then make it SEMC. Something like that, right?
Or return the index and then do something else. But yeah. Or we have the built-in index of, which you can use. That's fine. Which will give you the index of the value.
Okay.
I don't find myself using this that often, which is strange, but yeah, it does exist. This is a little more advanced, though, than I meant to show right now for these fundamentals, but yeah, good question. But if that's confusing right now, that yeah, it's a little beyond where we're at. Just like strings, arrays have built-in methods that you can access with the dot and that are very useful. So we get them all for free and we don't have to build them ourselves. I think that's the fundamentals before moving on to actually building a mini project to mirror what you're going to do today. So any questions on these fundamentals before moving on? Okay. We can always come back to.
Sorry. I just when you pop something, does that return an output?
Yeah, sure. I think so, but I never use it. But let's see. It should return the item, right? That would make sense, and it does. I find myself almost never using this, but there absolutely will be use cases. Just, I don't know. It's been a while. Good question. Interesting question. Yeah. So this is a method that the JavaScript developers built, and they had to determine, should it return something? Should it not? Because remember, functions don't have to have an output. They can. So that was their call. Yeah. All right. So what do we want to build today? I call this, what do I call this? I call this student tracker. And what it does is I can enter a name of a student. And then I have a little button that says submit. And then I have a list of students displayed below. And that's it. And I can add students. So this is what we're going to build today. And this is like a web application, right? There's user interaction. Things are dynamic. So it's going to, there's more complexity than it looks. So what I want to do, as always, is take a screen snip of this so we can reference it as we're building. And then I'll go ahead and save that into our code here. Student tracker. And we'll just call this like demo. And then I don't know why it's doing this. I can't find the how to exit this. I'll just manually. Okay, then first things first, I want to run this HTML file and get our little demo image going. So I'll just do an image tag and point it at demo.png. And then I'll do the little style trick of position, what was it, fixed? Or what did we use yesterday? Absolute. I'll do bottom 0. I'll do left 0, and I'll do width of 50%. And this, again, has nothing to do with what we're building today. It's just, you can ignore this. It's just to be able to remember what we're trying to build. Okay? I didn't emphasize this enough. Use HTML as much as possible. as opposed to JavaScript if you can do the same thing in HTML, because it's just simpler and easier, right? So with that being said, how can I get student tracker to show up on my screen? Ritu?
So you want to put a heading in each one element?
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. How can I get the input box, Ritu?
So I would first create a div.
Okay.
And inside the div, you can put the input element.
Sure.
And also a button as well.
Sure. Oh, so that was bothering me, the border. Do you guys see how there's no border at the bottom? That disappears if I don't use mobile view. So I think that's just like an error again on like Chrome DevTools. Do you see that? It might be hard to see on your end, but so I think we can ignore that safely. Yeah, and Ritu said a button as well. So that's very nice. Whoops. Where's my bug? Somebody see it? Oh. Yeah, I tried to use button as a void tag. I don't know why. Okay, but I need the word submit in there, and I need the background color to be light blue. Mohammed, how can I do those things?
Well, you can just place submit between the button
Yes.
tags. Yeah.
And the light blue?
Well, you can go within the first tag of button.
Within the first tag of button, okay.
Yeah, and give it an ID, which is submit, which will be submit.
Okay.
And then we go to CSS. The hashtag. Well, then with the submit button.
Very nice. And finally?
Say background equals, is it light blue?
Close enough, yeah.
All right.
Very good, thank you. And while we're here, well, never mind, that's fine. Okay, so now our user can, thanks Mohammed, you can, yeah. Now our user can type in their name, or I guess this would be more for me to keep track of my students, right? So I could type in David and eventually Adam. When I click submit now, nothing's occurring. So, let's pretend, let's pretend that I already have these names, that the application is already running and the user is seeing these names right now. If we were to cheat and hard code this, how would we do that? How would I get like a numbered list going on like that?
Create an ordered list.
Yeah. So I heard ordered list, right? And then inside, David, what would go inside to make a numbered ordered list?
You would need a list item.
Yeah. And then we can just manually put these names like this, right? But the thing is, we don't want to manually do this because these names are going to change. So we want to use JavaScript, right? And to store these names, what would be very useful to store these names is an array of students. So let's pretend, I know when the application first starts up, this will array be empty, but we're cheating right now, which sometimes you do, right? Just get some hard-coded stuff in there so you have something to play with. So this is a common technique. So we'll pretend that this is the state of our application. And this is going to be the first time we encounter this word, our application's state, which means like the dynamic current info. Yeah, but we'll have to get more intuition about that later on. But right now, the array of names is going to be our application state. But then the question is, how do we display our state? How do we render it? So the pattern that I'm going to ask you guys to incorporate is to have a function called render, whose job it is to take the current state of your application, which this is an array of names, and map that to the visual UI. So somehow manipulate the DOM to match the state. So using this function render, how can I go through students and get Linjay, Pimpa, Calypso to appear on the list?
So what we can do is we can create an order list in our HTML file.
Yeah, we already have it. We have the ordered list.
Okay, we already have it. Okay. So every time user inputs a name and click submit, its value will be added to our students list.
You're right. But we're not attacking that part yet. What we're attacking right now is we already have these names as as part of our running application, and we just want to display them.
We can loop.
We haven't learned map yet, so we can't use that.
We can loop through the array.
Yes. So we want to loop through the array. And for each item, what do we want to do, Sadiq?
We can create an li and append it to our ordered list.
Beautiful. Okay, so step one, Vanessa, how can we loop through our current array of students?
We create a for loop.
Yeah. And actually, I think it might be a fine time for me to introduce my favorite for loop to you guys. It's called a for of loop. So the syntax for this is going to be let anything you want to call your variable. But in this case, what makes most sense is student. And then use use the keyword of, and then the name of your array that you want to iterate through. And now just with that little bit of code, you directly have access to the value. So no doing I equals 0, students.length, I++. You can just use this. Except why isn't render running right now? Why don't I see anything in the console? Ketzerin, why don't I see my students in the console?
Because you didn't enforce the render yet.
Yeah, I didn't invoke. Yep. So I'll invoke it here. And then, yeah. So the for of loop is set up like this. And now we can access each item in an array one at a time. So now that I've successfully iterated through my array, Sadiq told us that for each item, we want to create an LI. So how can I create an LI, Monica?
Create an LI.
Yeah, we basically want this somehow to create that.
Do you just I'm not sure.
Okay. Izzy, how do we create a DOM element from JavaScript?
Oh, would it be document.create element?
Yep. Yeah. And then what argument, Izzy?
Li.
Yeah, beautiful. What's a good name to store this variable or this value, this object?
List.
Yeah. Okay, and we can go ahead and console.log it, but we'll see a little li. And then Sadiq told us to append to the ordered list. So this. So how can we take our new li and append it to the ordered list? Mehdi? Yeah, so we created that new li tag, but we want to add it to this ol to append it.
Shouldn't we change?
Oh, sorry. I call Mehdi. Yeah, and then I'll open it up.
We push? No, we don't push.
All right. So you switched them up. Before when we had arrays, you wanted to append, but
yeah. Yeah, we append. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So we want to append the OL. But before we can do that, we have to do what?
We write. I actually don't know.
Okay, yeah, we have to find the OL first. So how can we find the OL? Zubida? No? And Lin J, how can we find the ordered list, quote unquote?
Do we have to give the OL ID?
We can for sure if you want. Do you want
And
to?
then, yeah, I find it easier to name things.
Yep.
If
What's a good name?
you ever needed another ordered list somewhere.
You're right. Yeah.
I guess tracker. I don't know. What do you,
let's do lists container.
okay. And then use that document dot query selector. And then the list container with the hashtag.
What's a good name for this variable?
I don't know.
Let's do list container. Yep. Okay, let's console.log list container to make sure we're on track. But then if it does work, Lin J, how do I finally append the list item to the list container? Oh, and this isn't working. Hold on. What's my error here? Oh, what's my error here, class? It's a common one.
I haven't saved HTML.
Yeah, that you guys all will do. I haven't saved it yet. Okay. So Lin J, how can we now append the LI to the OL?
You do the, is it list container dot append child or just append?
Yep. And what's the argument?
The LI?
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, but nothing, well, not nothing. I stand corrected. Not nothing, but not the name Lin J or Pimpa or Calypso. But we do have the numbers, which is cool. So there's one more step we need to do before appending. What do you think that is, Pimpa? What do you think we forgot to do?
Array. Student? No. I'm not sure.
Okay. Calypso, what should we do?
I think you have to add the value of students into the LI.
Exactly,
No?
yeah. And how do we do, oh, I'm at the wrong little place. And how do we do that?
Make a variable, I guess. I don't know. Actually, I have no idea.
So fair enough, right? So what we want to do though, just to remember manually, what we want to do is this.
Yeah.
That's the end goal, but we have to do it from here, which is weird. So how do we fill an element up, like Semsi said, right? With some text.
Text content.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, my brain forgot completely.
Equals.
Equals.
This is why I love the for of loop.
Student?
Yeah.
Student?
We have access to it right there. And now we save this and really good progress, right? So let's pause there though. We're making really good time. So what questions are there? Think of some questions. Ellery, yeah.
Max, would you mind just explaining that quick let students of students?
Oh, the for of
just
loop?
missed you a bit
Yes.
there.
Yeah. Let's take a break and do a little for of demo. So let's pretend I have some nums, right? So I can do for let num of nums, and I can console.log num, and what will I see, Ellery?
I don't know.
No? Okay, so the
that
for
right?
of loop is just an easy way to do what we used to do with the normal for loop. So let me show you what this is equivalent to, and then I bet you'll know. So this is equivalent to me saying nums.length, I++, console.log, nums bracket I. So these two are equivalent. Now, do you know what this
Yes.
one will say?
Yes. Okay. It will say. No, I don't know.
Okay. How about the first iteration? Can we take that through? Farhan, we can. Sure.
It would be 1. I think it's kind of confusing for me because you named it nums. Maybe name it numbers or.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Numbers.
So it would be 1.
Yeah. So these two are equivalent. The for of is very simple. So you have an array, you put it here, and you name what you want to call each item, and then it gives it to you one at a time in the code block magically. It does this behind the scenes. But if you find it confusing, you certainly don't have to use it. I just really like it. Izzy? Oh,
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Is there any way to use the num of nums or this for loop to do it like reversed? Because sometimes you know how you pull index down and start from the end.
Not that I can think of, no. Because then you'd have to switch to a normal for loop.
Okay.
So then the same thing would apply if you wanted to like skip, like say you wanted every other item in the list.
To count backwards.
You can reverse your array and then use this.
Oh yeah, but that's more work than it's probably worth. But that is correct. Yeah, good thinking. Yeah. So what Sadiq is saying is if we reversed it, right, and then it would work. Yeah, that's clever. Other questions on for of? I'm a big fan, so I hope you guys will be too.
There's also a for each, I guess.
Yeah, for each is a method though. It's a little different. Yep.
I had a question about something else in the code we just wrote.
Sure. What? And where?
So is it not better to like call the where is it? To create the container outside of the for loop, or is it okay that it's in the for loop?
Oh, create the container.
Because right now you're going through every.
Oh, we're not creating any container. We're grabbing it.
Finding it. It doesn't matter that it's inside.
Oh no, yeah, you're absolutely right. For a little that should be outside because why recreate that every time? That's silly. Yeah, good catch.
I have one more question. Do you not have to append the list container to the body?
No, because the list already exists in our body.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Right here. Yeah, don't forget HTML. HTML is still good and powerful. Yeah, yesterday that was like a theme that you guys wanted to abandon HTML completely. So we need all three tools working together. Okay. So where were we at with our tracker? We just have to invoke render. Okay. So now the final step is to get the submit button working, right? So we want to enter the name of a new student, click submit, and see it added to the list. But that's hard. So a sub objective will be when I click submit, I want to see console.log that says submit. How can I start to get that wired up? I forget who we were at. Farhan?
We would have to listen to the event. So before we even listen to the event, maybe we would set a variable, let submit button equal document.query selector the button ID.
Yes. Submit button. Very nice. Okay, so we grab that submit button, and Farhan is saying we want to add an event listener to it to listen for presumably that click. How do we do that, Elri?
Ask again, I'm sorry.
So the submit button, we want when we click the submit button, we want to see a console.log message that says submitting. So how do we basically do that? So basically, we want to add an event listener to submit button.
Oh, okay. So yeah, add event listener.
Yeah, and then what's the first argument? What are we listening for?
We're listening for the click.
We're listening for the click. And what's the data type of the second argument?
That would be the render.
That'd be the what?
Not
render, no. It renders not a data type. What, like string, Boolean, function? Like what type of variable is it or value?
No, I'm not sure. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. David?
So it's going to be a callback function.
Very nice. Yeah. So we'll make a little anonymous function right here. And then just to satisfy the objective, we'll say submit, right? So now when I click submit, I see the word submit. Beautiful. So this is firing every time. But we don't want to see the word submit. We want to see what actually in the console? We want to console.log the value that the user typed in. So how can I see Izzy? How can I see Izzy? Izzy? Yeah.
Is it we're using the event target?
We're in here, right here. We're in this, event listener. But the first thing we have to do is what?
In some way link it to the input.
Yeah, we need to find this input. So how would you like to do that?
Selector?
What?
Would it be query selector?
Yeah, so we can use query selector. And what's the argument for query selector to find that input element?
Input.
Yeah. I don't predict we'll have more than one, so we can be lazy. And then what's a good name to call this?
Input.
I like it. And then we can console.log this to make sure we're on the right track. But then how do I see the value that I type in? Izzy.
Is that when you do something with the event and target? I'm not sure.
Or
the value.
Yeah. So we're going to just say .value because the browser does all that work of keeping track for us from this input box. So now we have the value. What do we want to do with that value? And this is tricky, so I'll open it up to the class. What do we want to do to that value?
We want to put into the array.
Yeah, we want to add it to our application state. Nope, wrong place, right? So we want to add the new value to our application state, which is the array of students. How can we do that, Semsi? How can we add input.value to our array of students?
Are we going to use the dot push?
Yeah, exactly. So what are we pushing? What are we pushing onto?
we're gonna say students dot push input dot value.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then to see if that worked, we can console.log students, right? So I do semc and click submit, and look at that. We added to the array of students, but what don't we like? What don't we see? Sadiq, what don't we see? What's missing?
It's not appending it to the OL. I mean the ordered list.
It's not appending it to the ordered list.
Yeah.
But if I click refresh, what do you predict will happen? Oh, no, actually, that's totally wrong. Well, you can still answer, even though what I was thinking is completely wrong.
Will the ordered list go away?
Yeah, we'll just see the defaults. So we'll see what we always had.
Okay.
And the okay, so I type in semc, I press submit, and we see him in our applications array now, our states array. But we want to rerun what?
Render.
Yeah. So we have to manually call render again. And if you feel like this is a little gross, that's great because this is what React solves. Yeah. So we type in semc, click submit. Oh, we have another bug. So we got semc, but we got more than we bargained for. Why do we see all of these elements?
You have called render in line 59.
Yeah, we called render and it just appended more children, but it didn't touch the old ones, right? So what should we do before like refreshing the state to match the UI? What should we do in render to prevent this?
Empty out the list, probably.
Yeah, we should empty out the list. But let's pause. Does anyone not know or need clarification on why that's occurring? It's obviously not ideal, right? But the important part is to understand why it's occurring. So this is running, it's adding all the new stuff, but there's nothing about deleting old stuff. So it's just continuously adding. So before we run this, we really should clear out all the old LIs. And to do that, we can use what?
Remove children?
We can, yeah, but what element do we want to remove all the children?
List container.
Yeah. Where is it? Remove. Where is it? Wasn't it auto?
It was remove child.
Oh, it's not remove child. Sorry. It's replace children. Yeah. Okay. So now we try this again. We type in semc. All the old ones are deleted and this new for loop is activated. And our array, this is actually not incorrect, but not representative of our real array in our DOM, right? Because semc is really here. And then we see it. But now this isn't a great user experience still. Actually, let me pause there. There's got to be questions, right? Because this stuff is hard. So what questions are there?
If in the event listener, would it be possible if instead of calling the function, we put on line 57 return students.push? Would that maybe work?
Would it work to do what?
Like we put return on line 57 return students.push input value, so on and so forth. Like, would that work?
No. But why?
It's because it's not in a function, so it doesn't have anything to return to. There's no value for it to return to.
Even if it is returning something, we're not doing anything with that return, and it's not calling render magically. So yeah. Was there something you were thinking though, or?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking maybe it's because it doesn't go into the array or something of that nature, but I guess, yeah, it would be that.
Us returning something in this callback function has nothing to do with our application's state array here.
Okay.
And this is what we need to manipulate and then call render to get it to show up on the screen. Yeah.
I have a question about replace children. Could you do like replace children text content and then just set it to like empty?
Replace children.
Oh, sorry, I'm not replace the list container text. What is it?
Content. Well, no, because list container contains elements that are what? This isn't text. This is HTML elements.
Okay.
If it was just text, then yes. Yeah. We can try it. Can't break it, but I don't predict it's going to work. Where were we? Oh. So, like, this is the idea, I guess. So we try to add something. Oh, did that work? That worked. Okay, cool. I wouldn't use that, but it did work. That's funny. How did that work? Did that work? Yeah. Okay.
I think it's because you still have the submit button, right? So it's still doing the bottom part.
Sorry, one more time?
I think it's still working because you still have the whole function at the bottom with the submit button. I don't know that it's necessarily because of text content. You still have render in the bottom there. So it's like,
yeah,
see
but
down.
that's fine. But if we,
Oh, I see.
but
I
if we
see,
took
never
this
mind.
out,
Yes,
then
I
we're in
understand.
trouble. Well, let me refresh.
Yeah.
I bet we're gonna be in trouble again. Oh, what's going? Something's going on different. What's going on?
You didn't save.
Oh, I didn't save. Sorry, guys. There we go. So I'm very surprised, as you heard, that this works. I don't recommend using that strategy, but it is interesting that that worked. Yeah, I thought text content would throw an error because it's not. Or not even throw an error, but just ignore the other elements because they're not text and just worry about the text. But no. Okay. I think we did everything, right? We set out to do. Any other questions on this one? There is one more little user improvement, user interface improvement we can do. Does anyone know what I'm talking about or have ideas?
Do we want to remove?
Yeah, it's kind of ugly that this still remains after I submit it. We should make that blank, right? So, how can I do that from this part of the code? How can I clear out that input?
Input.value is equal to empty string. Will that work?
Yeah, I think we can do that.
Would you also want to add like an uppercase thing if someone types it in like all lowercase?
Yeah, there's tons of things we can do. Like I'm just
Like,
noticing now we can click submit on an empty string. That's not ideal. So there's a lot of different improvements you can do, but this is a good pausing place for us probably. So what final questions are there on this one? Okay. So this assignment today is a killer, I won't lie, but I made it 2 days and 2 points because it almost is like a mini project. You're going to make a clone and it looks deceptively simple. So you'll say day 11 arrays and you have a button to generate an array with 10 random numbers. And then you get the array of 10 random numbers, and then you can do many things to manipulate this array, right? So After FizzBuzz, or actually, sorry, starting at FizzBuzz is your bonus, and your hearts is super bonus, and the remove a number is ultra bonus. Yeah, if anyone does that, congratulations. Also, I'm not sure what you're doing here because you have a lot of knowledge, right? Yeah. So display a first number, 97. We can click reset to get a new array. Add a random number. I'll let you kind of discover. Maybe it's fun to discover what some of them do. The bear is going to be a mystery. Not much of a mystery. The hearts is like the puzzle. So you have to, when I click the heart, stuff happens and there's a pattern, but you're going to have to determine what that pattern is for the ultra bonus. Yeah. And then, oh, sorry, the hearts is an ultra bonus. That's super bonus. I don't know. This is the real kind of crazy one. And we haven't shown how to do this at all, so you'll have to research. But we can select things. This is called the select box. And we can select which numbers we want to delete from the array. There's a lot going on there. Questions on this?
When is it due?
2 days you get on it. So I don't want to say a time because everyone's in different times and countries, but
You mean is it due on? Is it due on tomorrow?
no. So my time, November 17th at 1 p.m. So has everyone verified that on Canvas they have their time zone set? Because then it'll automatically tell you the correct time. That is something I should have mentioned day one.
Yeah, mine is set to the
Okay.
night.
So everyone today verify that your time zone in Canvas is correct. Then you never have to worry about it. It'll just tell you automatically what time things are due. Did you have a question? Oh, yeah, David.
So we have this arrays assignment, and then we're going to have a weekly project at the end of this week also?
Yeah, it's going to be a little different this week because of holidays and because of I think it's going to be the best way to flow it. But your project is going to be weirdly due, I'm thinking Wednesday at the end of class. And so this is really nice. I don't know if you guys, obviously you don't realize that, but the last cohort had it due the normal Monday. So you're getting a few extra days. So it's pretty nice.
What?
Yeah.
So it's like what holiday is it?
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
And okay. And then my second question was, what happens? Do we not have class? What happens with class?
Oh yeah. We're sorry guys. We're off. So it's on the syllabus, but we never look at the syllabus, right? I'm speaking for myself. So we have off Thanksgiving and Christmas. Those are our 2 days off. That's it.
Okay. And Thanksgiving is
not this Thursday. Not this Thursday, but the next.
The 23rd.
So it ended up being perfect for our schedule. Yeah.
Okay.
It was really nice. Christmas is a Monday, but whatever. It's fine. We'll deal with it. Okay. Other questions on this? All right. Let's get you guys going. Stop share. Breakout rooms. Add a room. All right, off you go.